Hi, and welcome to Silent No Longer. I'm Misha, and I'm so glad you're here. The podcast is a safe, judgment free space for healing, hope, and honest conversation for anyone who's been through toxic or abusive relationships. I know firsthand how it feels to feel trapped, unheard, and unseen. I lived through years of toxic relationships, financial struggles, and spiritual battles, but through faith and healing, I found freedom. And my purpose now is to help others find the same. On this podcast, we'll share stories of resiliency, transformation, and faith. I'll share my own journey, and we'll also hear from guests who have walked similar paths. My goal is to remind you that you are not alone, that healing is possible, and that your past does not define your future. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to check out my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my story in depth. And if you feel ready, I offer one-on-one coaching to walk with you through your healing journey. And thank you for joining me today. I'm honored to be part of your journey, and I can't wait to walk through this season of healing, hope, and breakthrough with you. Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. Today, I'm excited to welcome Tiffany, a woman who has truly turned pain into purpose. 6 years after leaving an abusive relationship, Tiffany has dedicated her life to empowering women through healing, self discovery, and independence. Tiffany's passion is at helping others recognize the signs of abuse, build safe exit strategies, and reclaim through strength. I'm so honored to have her here to share more about her journey and the incredible work she's doing. Tiffany, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, can you start and just share a little bit about your story and what led you to the work you're doing today?
Absolutely. And so my story started in December 2016 when I met a guy at a dog park. I thought all people who loved animals were good people. So I ignored a lot of the red flags that got me sucked into the dangerous and abusive relationship that I was in for close to 2 years. I left right before the 2 year mark. And actually, coming up Friday will be 7 years out of that relationship. So that's amazing. Or 7 years since I last saw his face in that condo when I walked out the door for the final time. It was from love bombing to um, the manipulation of what I wore, who I spoke to, who my friends were, surveillance into my emails, into my phone, into every aspect of my life, him isolating me from friends, deleting thousands of people from my social media, making me change my email address because ex-boyfriends had it. He hated that. I'm not surprised he didn't make me change my phone number, but just massive, massive changes over incremental time. So it didn't all happen in the beginning, right? If you got punched in the face right when you got into an abusive relationship, you're probably walking out the door because you're not emotionally invested. It was small little changes over time. And all of a sudden, I was in this thing and I was confused. I'm like, maybe I am just compromising my situation and I'm just allowing this. It's okay. This is just a relationship. All relationships go through hard times. Well, now looking back and my own self discovery, I know other women are in the same situation. So that is why I started my nonprofit. That's why I wrote my book, is to give those tools to women. They may not name it abuse right now. That's okay. I didn't either. I actually denied that I was in an abusive relationship. But I understood fear of saying the wrong thing. I understood isolation away from family and friends, especially through work. And I understood control because he was controlling all aspects of my life. So if you understand that and you feel that and you feel like you're shrinking, that is how I want to help teach and raise awareness because you do understand those feelings, even though you deny being in an abusive situation. So that's kind of how I arrived at today.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today because my story is I grew up around toxicity my entire life. My mom had boyfriends and it was nothing but violence the entire time. And then and then my relationships growing up was the same way. and my relationship with my mom was kinda toxic, and so toxicity was normal. So I had no clue I was in a awful relationship with my kids' dad or with my husband because they were different type of toxicity. So, speaking to someone like me and maybe those who don't really know what toxicity is in a relationship because they've only seen, like, they come from, I don't wanna say, I don't I never know how to say it, like, come from a good background where it's just peaceful the whole time. Like, how would you be able to see and recognize the, toxic behavior at the beginning when you first start dating?
So I think, well, first and foremost, I think that, and there is a crime analyst, she's female and British on social media, and I cannot remember, I think one of her handles is crime analyst. One of the things that she said recently, which I love, is to stop using the word toxic. Let's call it what it is. If it's a toxic relationship, who's the abuser? Name the person, name what they're doing. Toxic. There's abuse and there's reactive abuse, right? That together is toxic, but one is just reacting to the other.
Yeah.
So finding out, growing up in a vanilla, I'll use vanilla and, rocky road is like ice cream analogies, right? So if you're growing up in a vanilla world where you're not exposed to toxic behavior, abusive behavior, whether it's verbal, physical, whatever that looks like, you may be at a disadvantage. And I'm going to kind of go pro con here. The pro is you grew up in a vanilla situation. The con of it is you don't understand what that looks like. You're very naive in that situation. And I absolutely raise my hand in that because, I mean, I've dealt with crappy boyfriends, a crappy ex-husband, and some of the behavior by itself could be labeled as abuse, but it wasn't a pattern, right? So
Yeah.
there's the pattern that gets involved in that. So understanding that you may not know what you think you know, humbling yourself, dropping the ego, this will never affect me. It can affect everybody. It doesn't matter. Race, religion, color of your skin, education level, financial level, it doesn't matter. It happens to everybody. But that's the vanilla side, right? On
Yeah.
the rocky road side, you're already in a chaotic situation. Your anxiety in your body is already at an elevated level. So how do you figure out what your calm is? Where is your vanilla, right? So
Yeah.
understanding that, recognizing other relationships that do have calm in them and watching their patterns, seeing what that is. If it's a whole culture, a whole neighborhood that, or a whole family dynamic, extended family dynamic that everyone is abusive, that becomes more tricky on determining what is healthy because you may have the healthiest side of the rocky road spectrum, right? You may not even have gone into other flavors of ice cream. You won't get to vanilla. I love using the ice cream analogy. You're in the gallon of rocky road. Like you can't swim out of it until you meet someone that makes you feel calm. So, in that situation, is understanding what your body's feeling, realize that that's not normal, right? You shouldn't be on high anxiety all the time. And how do you get out of it? So, the pro is you know how to deal with it. And that almost becomes also the con for you because you already know how to deal with it. Your fear is getting out of that because you don't know how to deal with the normal.
Yeah. Because I look at that thinking about going into another relationship. One, I'm scared that it's gonna be another bad relationship, let's just say bad, or I'm gonna run into a different type of toxic and not recognize it because it's gonna be new.
Yeah.
And I know you're not supposed to, like, hold off because you're scared, but at the same time, I don't really feel like I'm that ready because I need to understand how to recognize that and what my body's gonna feel like in those types of situations.
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned this in my jujitsu training, because I'm getting certified to teach self-defense for women through Brazilian jiu-jitsu. One of the biggest things that you can do is set a boundary. If that person, that other person that you're going on a date with or in talks with, if they push that boundary, they're not a good person. If they respect your boundary, then they become more of a safe space. But it's over you understanding what your boundaries are, right? Setting those boundaries. And if that person, I'll use myself as an example. I went on a date. The first date, he said, well, let's meet up for a drink quick so we can see if we're compatible for it for the actual date. Well, already that's a red flag for me because he's testing me. My abuser tested me, right? So that already has me on high alert. We did have fun, so I was like, okay, maybe he just didn't realize what he was saying. Again, there wasn't a pattern, right?
Right.
The next date that we had, he shows up in an Uber. Was he planning on getting drunk on our actual date? Why was that, right? Like, we're just getting to know each other. Are you planning on getting sloshed, right?
Yeah.
Then we walk from where we met up to the restaurant. It was like a block away. We sit down. There's no flirting. He actually complained the whole time, which my abuser did as well, right? So I'm recognizing things. Things are going ping, 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 ping.
Mhm.
He complained the whole time. And when we would start having a conversation and like learning about each other more, he'd go back into the complaining again. So it was always back to him. Always, he kept focusing it back on him, which to me is a red flag. There was no flirting, there was none of that. He walks me to my car. I go in to give him a hug just to be nice. Like, I didn't even want to do that because there was no buying signs, right? It was
Yeah.
like a flirtatious dinner.
Mhm.
He kissed me on my lips. That was a firm boundary for me because that was not welcomed. There was no flirting, there was no hand-holding, there was no googly eyes at each other. There was no sign that I gave him to give that.
Yeah.
Bye. He crossed that boundary. I didn't lay it down, but I knew in my own, he crossed a boundary that I didn't give him permission to go to. So that to me is knowing what I will accept, and I need people to read the room. I wasn't giving off flirtation vibes. I was actually quite annoyed that he was complained the whole time. Well, I wasn't there to date to be a girlfriend, and I wasn't there to date to be a wife. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
put your nonsense. I'm there to have a good time, to see if I like your company, and it was boring.
Yeah.
So that was knowing your boundaries and setting those and sticking to them, and if someone pushes them like he did, or abusers do it all the time, right? They stretch their band until it can't stretch anymore, and then they explode. So understanding that own pattern, give yourself grace and say, "You know what? I'm not gonna put up with that anymore." And if they push you to deal with it, bye. I'm done. And that alone, you standing up for yourself in that boundary will scare the wrong man away.
Yeah. And I also it's okay not to give somebody a second chance after they've
Of
crossed
course.
that boundary because I have been really bad at that in the past. "Oh, they're just having a bad day." Like, make up some excuse. And
Nope.
during my healing process, I was like, "Yeah, I shouldn't do that." That's definitely probably one reason why I got into a lot of situations because I just brushed it off because I was just so used to doing that growing up.
Yeah. I mean, we do. We will make excuses for other
Mhm.
people's behavior. Well, guess what? They are adults. That is not our job. That's
Yeah,
their job.
most definitely. Would you recommend people to have certain type of boundaries? Is there or does it just depend on the person?
I really think it depends on the person and what they've discovered about themselves, right? Because I may get into a situation where I'm like, whoa, that should have been a boundary.
Mhm.
Right? And I didn't realize it until I was in it. And you can still say, "No, that is not comfortable." I don't even wanna talk to you anymore. I mean, you can draw that line right then. And if they push, it's all about understanding your own feelings. Butterflies in your stomach may be anxiety. So listen to your body. It may not be excitement, it may be fear manifesting itself as butterflies. Um, and it's anxiety. So understanding the signs and signals that your body is trying to tell you and listen. Stop ignoring what your body's telling you.
Yeah, I learned that, um, because I tried talking to people and hanging out with people after my divorce, and I found out real quick I wasn't ready for that. But I did find out that when my nervous system goes crazy, I have so much anxiety in my head, I can't stop thinking about stuff. And I'm just so anxious all the time, and I don't know why. So that's one thing that I'm definitely going to listen to, especially now that I know how your nervous system speaks to you and helps you identify what's going on around you, and
Yeah.
just being, you know.
It's really fascinating. Like our body
Mhm.
wants to go back to a normal. One of the things that we did with my nonprofit last December, so December 2024, we did trauma informed yoga. And with that were some like other movements, but women especially, we hold our trauma in our hips. And so one of the things that we have to teach our bodies is to go into chaotic moments and then take a deep breath and breathe into it. So you teach your body the chaos, whether it's jumping jacks, violent like head banging or moving your arms and your body and shaking everything out, and then coming back to a calm space, that you're throwing your body into this tizzy and then bringing it back to calm. So you're teaching your body what the silence and stillness is and how it can relax. And that's useful anytime we start to feel anxiety. Is sometimes we just have to like reteach our body. It's okay to calm down. It's okay to chill out. It's okay to be silent. Cause I go into those spirals too,
Mhm.
right? We get locked onto something and you're like, oh my God. Whether it throws us into fear, anxiety, whatever all of those feelings are, we have to we have to really like talk to ourselves and be like, everything's gonna be fine. We're going to get this. I'm strong. I'm smart. I believe in myself. I can get through anything I already have. Right. And
Yeah.
build ourself back up and raise our energy. Some people are energy people and frequency people. Other people think it's woo woo. I do think that our energy going up and down, some days we feel like Wonder Woman, other days we feel like the gutter rat. Right? So when you feel like the gutter rat, how can we even move our energy up to even halfway to Wonder Woman, right? Just staying out of the bottom half of that range, we will do better for ourselves.
Yeah.
As we invite what's supposed to be in our lives when we're in the gutter rat stage and feeling that low and depressed, and we all go there, right? It's
Yeah.
in nature. But how do we not stay there? How do we make that time there a lot shorter? So movement will do it. Getting rid of the anxiety, getting rid of that negative self-talk. What we tell ourselves in our subconscious, we believe.
Yeah.
We're telling ourselves, "Man, I hate it when I do that. I'm such a whatever," right? Name an adjective. Your body will believe it.
Yeah, I started doing that myself because I would just drop and just be in bed for a couple of days and just I couldn't get out, and I would just sit there and just, I don't know, pray and just think about why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and what's causing me to feel that way. And when I took everything around me out of it, it's like, okay, what is the pinpoint thing that is making me feel this way? And I would just sit there and reflect on it and then just pull back the layers and figure out where it's stemming from deeper down. And I tell my kids to do the same thing. I'm like, don't stay stuck. You have to figure out what it is that's causing you this. Whatever in life is causing you that much stress, you need to figure out what it is and is it worth staying there?
Yeah. Another good exercise is, who do you want to become? Who do you wanna be 5 years from now?
Mhm.
Whether it is someone on stage speaking, whether it is someone who is at the top of their company and getting all these accolades and awards, whether it is you wanna be a top athlete, whatever it is, The decisions you make today, what would the future me do right now to get me closer to that?
Yeah.
That answer is gonna be a heck of a lot different than sitting in the moment of, "Man, I just feel really crappy today." You know what? The future me, the
Mhm.
healthier mindset, physical, all of that stuff, the future me is gonna sit here for 5 more minutes and get my ass up and go do something to get my heart rate up, whether it's go mess around in the yard, go play with the dogs, go for a walk on the beach, whatever it is, it's gonna get your heart moving, and once you do that, then your body's already in motion, go do the next thing.
Yeah, and that's what I started doing, and when I started doing that, I'd maybe sit in bed maybe 10 minutes, and I'm like, "Okay, let's get up. What am I gonna do today? Because this is not gonna get me where I wanna go."
Mel Robbins does a good thing. She does the 5-second rule, and if you are like, "I just need to get up, I need to get up," and you're hitting snooze, say, "Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1," and you just get up and go.
I need to try that because I hit snooze for, like, an hour, I'm like, I don't wanna get up."
Yeah, it depends on the day. This past Sunday, I was like, "Nope, we're not getting up until it's light out, like, I'm not doing it." And I used to be like 5 AM every morning.
Mhm. Yeah, me too. Yeah. So if you find yourself in a toxic relationship when dating, even if you've been there for a short amount of time or longer, how would you recommend somebody safely get out of the situation?
First, recognize the pattern. How deep are they in it? Is it escalating quickly? Like, assess the danger because the person that they're trying to escape from, it's all about control. And if they feel that they're losing control, they could act like a wild, feral animal. So it could escalate very quickly. So assess what you're currently dealing with, whatever situation that you're in. Mark out one person, not anybody that they know, one person that is your safe person, and give them 2 keywords. If you say blueberry, call 911. If you say cherry, come get me right now, or I'll meet you at the end of the block. Like, give it a name or an object that is the keyword and give it an action and lock it in with them of, "I know this is gonna go crazy. I already am feeling the tension rise. These are 2 outcomes that I need your help with. If I say cherry, meet me at the end of the block. I'll have a bag in hand and I'm maybe running to the car. So I need you to be there." And the other one, blueberry, call 911 and give them this address.
Yeah, that's good.
Otherwise, get your stuff together. If they have access to your phone, don't do anything on your phone. Keep it normal, keep it safe. Because my abuser scoured, hunted through my phone, my email, everything. So as I was leaving at work, I set up a whole separate Gmail and just started forwarding evidence there. So it
That's
was never
smart.
going to be a he said, she said situation. I had proof, I had recordings, I had emails of him hiring male sex workers while he was out of town working. I had screenshots of him signing up for Ashley Madison on my birthday and then completely denying it. I mean, I had proof of all of it, all to
Mhm.
a separate email he had no idea about. I didn't do that the first couple times, and I wish I did. It was the second time that I left that I started saving things.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Wish
was the same with, my kids' dad. I didn't really have evidence of what was going on, and people didn't realize what was going on because outside, everybody thought that it was a perfect relationship, nothing was going wrong, he was doing all the things he was supposed to be doing, but behind closed doors, it wasn't like that at all. I mean, I guess it was pretty violent, there was always things being thrown, which I didn't realize was physical abuse then, and, I mean, it was pretty violent to the point where my kids were violent to each other.
because they thought it was normal.
Yeah, and I thought it was normal because that's what I grew up around, but when I left him a couple of times and kept going back, the one time I left, him and my mom got my grandparents to stop talking to me, and that broke my heart. So I went back, and then my grandma's like, "Well, you should just clean more or do this, like, it was all my fault, the reason why we broke up, and I was like, "What? That's not why we broke up." I just let it go, and I was like, "Next time, Imma have evidence." So I had all the stuff so nobody could come back on me, and you shouldn't even have to do that. It still bothers me that the fact that we have to do that just in case somebody says, "Oh, well, what did you do wrong?" It's like, we didn't do anything wrong. But yeah, so I had a plan. Like I had all my evidence. I went to a lawyer. I got everything written up about the kids, like the whole 9 yards. And then when I brought it up to him about why we needed to break up, he'd throw his phone and everything because I caught him cheating and just I don't know. It just kind of went bad. With my husband when I left him, I learned from the first one to have a plan before I mentioned anything to him too. I had I went to the lawyer and got divorce papers and had everything all ready, set, and go by the time I told him too. I mean, luckily he wanted out too, so it was pretty, smooth, but, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not always smooth.
No, leaving is the most dangerous time. 70% of homicides and domestic violence are when the person's have has already left the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, I'd say I'm pretty blessed that it was as easy as it was for me to get out of both relationships. I had some when I left the kids' dad, the landlord, that I didn't work for 5 years because I was in a bad car accident, and so I had no income. He let me stay there for free, and he helped me get into school. I got a job and slowly got my feet back on the ground, so
Yeah,
yeah, I was pretty blessed on how everything lined up. So,
yeah,
but it's not always like that. But I always tell people when they're like, "Well, what would Misha do?" And I'm like, "I would make a plan and do it quietly and trust somebody who doesn't have no contact with that person."
yeah. One of the things that I do wish that I wish I had the knowledge that I have now back then. Because even now, like, through helping other women, like, another story will come up in my head, or I'll research deep into it of, "If he did this, what does this mean?" And I did this just the other day. I was having this conversation. I don't even know why I did this, but I did it, and I was like, "Well, I caught him cheating. I played the evidence for him, and he shoved me onto the floor, like, threw me to the floor, ripped the phone out of my hand while almost breaking my wrist, and bent my phone so it was unusable. He didn't break it in half, he bent it so it was unusable.
Yeah.
That's domestic battery. I should have called the cops right then and there.
Really
Yes.
interesting. See, and it's so hard because there's so many layers to domestic violence, and you just have to keep pulling back the layers. I mean, I had no clue about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's him spitting in my face, punching me in the chest, all domestic battery.
Yeah.
There are when things escalate, like, if there's blood and, like, all of that kinda stuff, it
Mhm.
could go into a felony. I think domestic battery is still considered a misdemeanor, depending on what state you're in. But yeah, I mean, it really blew my mind. Him cornering me and, like, screaming in my face, like, a centimeter from my face, domestic
Mhm.
battery. It's, any unwanted touching, pushing, like, anything to where you are absolutely like, you can't escape from the situation. So, pinning you up against a wall, shoving you in a corner, like, any of that stuff is domestic battery.
I always thought that you had to have picture evidence for it to be considered that. That's not true.
Well, battery's different. For some reason, domestic violence, they need to show something. If you're accusing them of strangulation, they want to see some type of evidence, right? So it depends. Even ask our friend Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Ask like the legal wizard and describe to me what domestic battery is. It will blow your mind.
Hmm.
It will
I'm gonna have
and
to look up
it will reveal stories that you probably long forgot as you read the breakdown of it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because the only actual, domestic violence where the cops had to be called, that was with my mom, and that was scary, and I was like, "Dang, if I ever had gone through that with a guy, that would've been so much scarier." It was scary enough just going through it with my mom. that was a whole ordeal, but yeah, I don't know. It's just it's scary and it's heartbreaking that women go through that for so long. And I can understand why they stay for so long because 'cause they're scared, especially if they have kids. I
Yeah.
mean, my
Kids
kids' dad would
are the top,
yeah.
just for leaving.
Yeah, because the kids' dad always threatened me that he was gonna take the kids, and for so long, he was always threatening and trying to control me in that way, that I thought he could, and it took me probably, like, 6 months to a year to realize he's not got anything on me, he's not gonna be able to get my kids taken from me. Once I realized
That won't stop him from lying.
right, but, yeah, he dug himself in the hole with too many other different things that he didn't even have a chance at that point, but, I mean, you just have to get out of the scaredness of them trying to control you with their words,
Yeah,
but that's the hardest part. It
it
takes a
is.
while to build up the courage.
It's extremely scary, and it's valid to be
Mhm.
scared because that escalation can happen like that.
Yeah.
They can actually be the nicest person and have no evidence of there could be, like, weird little patterns, but not, like, blatant in your face type abuse, and I'll
Mhm.
snap,
Yeah.
and you could be seriously hurt. I mean, it's you just never know.
Mhm.
They say it's an average number of times to leave is 7 times. There's an average of being hit, like, 30 something times before they ever report being hit.
I
That
believe the 7 times because I think it
is
took me about that many times to lose their dad,
yeah.
and then I was married for 9 years before I left, but that was because we were married and I was really trying to make it work, but you can't always make it work.
No, I mean, that's that especially when you're in a marriage, right? You say the vow for better or for worse. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean pain,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean abuse. It doesn't mean you have to put up with any of that because that is not what God wants done. Because we're supposedly, some people agree, some people don't. I agree. We're each made in the resemblance of God, right?
Mhm.
Each of us has God within us, right?
Yeah.
God doesn't want his temple destroyed ever
Yeah.
in any fashion. So for someone to lay their hands on, spit, degrade, whatever it is, God doesn't want that for his children.
Nope, and just being told, "Oh, pray about it." I mean, yeah, sometimes you can pray about a relationship. Sometimes it does get better, but it doesn't always mean it's going to get better, and that's where I struggled because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna sit here and pray." I prayed for 7 years. I'm like and then there was a complete shift, and then later I found out because he went and got baptized and all this stuff, and later I found out that he just did that because he thought he needed to. And I was under the understanding that we had a complete breakthrough, and I was just so crushed. I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, no, it's all an act. Like,
Mhm,
once you discover that they have that ability to we'll just call it what it is, shape-shifting, right? Putting on a different mask to appease you for a specific amount of time.
mhm,
Be a month, it might be 2 months, it might be 6 months. They can't hold it up. The mask is too heavy, they get tired of it. One day, they may be in a bad mood, and that mask is shattered, and it's never going back. Like, once things get bad, they aren't getting better.
mhm,
That is not improving. Not unless they go into a full-on, like, treatment situation where they have homework, and typically, it's like, there's narcissism in there, diagnosed or not, right? It's the falseness of who they are as a person, and it doesn't get better without real work. There's a guy on social media, he's a diagnosed narcissist, and he's been in, like, deep therapy for 8 years, and so
yeah,
he gives the insight of the guy's view and what guys will do and say. He's like, "Unless you get help, there's no, 'Oh, I saw a counselor.' No.
mhm,
1 visit, 5 visits? No. anyone that wants to get better is gonna be in an immersive situation, and it's gonna be years and years and years of getting help.
Yeah. My husband, I told him, "Either you need to get therapy or we're done." So he went and did therapy, and he would go, and he would deflect all the conversations and turn it to, like, um, sports or current events, and I went with him once. I'll never forget this because it was the craziest thing. I went with him, and I was just sitting there letting the counselor ask him the questions and everything, and then the he would sit there and he would just deflect every single thing. So I would jump in, and I was basically taking over as the counselor, and the counselor looks at me, he's like, "Oh, you should be a therapist. Like, this is your job. You should know how to make it so people aren't just sitting here deflecting the entire time." I mean, I would think, and I told him, I said, "You know, if you don't want to actually do the work, then why are you going?"
You know what they call a therapist that graduates schooling with a D?
What?
Therapist. Doesn't mean they were any good at it or understood any part of it. They could have almost failed all the way through it and still be
Yeah,
a therapist. But
that's
don't
true.
get me wrong, there are amazing therapists out there,
Mhm.
but going to see a general therapist, that's not doing you any good.
No.
It has to be in family trauma, trauma-informed subjects, specifically dealing with narcissism or abuse or things like that, and
Mhm.
have, like, a history of that. Otherwise, it's like you're wasting your money.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, I guess, that it was narcissism. I didn't even know what that meant until after my divorce, never even heard of it until
Yeah,
after.
me either. Yeah. I had heard of mythology, narc n I'm gonna totally say it wrong. Narcissus, I think that's Greek mythology, right?
Mhm,
"Oh, I'm so beautiful," like, looking at himself in the reflection of the water, right? And
mhm.
that is who has developed today. Like, that's what they're looking at is their own reflection. Their reflection becomes their mask. Whoever they want that person to be, that's who they become,
Yeah.
not actually who they are, so it will never stick.
So I have, and tell me if I'm wrong to do this because, like I said, I haven't really dated a whole lot. So when a guy asks you a question about what you want or where you wanna go or just anything about yourself, have them answer the question first, so that way they're not saying what you want because they're just trying to pretend to be who you want in your life. Does that make sense?
It does. It depends how they ask the question, though,
Yeah,
right?
because I always have people ask me, "Oh, like, oh, where do you wanna go, like, traveling wise?" Or, "What does your future look like? What kind of things do you want to accomplish?" So then they come back with kind of the same things, and we'll talk about that all the time. But then when you start doing the things yourself and actually doing what you say you're gonna do, then it's almost like,
The disconnect.
yeah, it's like, "What happened?"
Yeah. Yeah, so they were trying to mirror you, and they
Mhm.
can't mirror the action. They can mirror the words, they can't mirror the action. So that's where recognizing those patterns. So I don't know if having them answer the question first, again, they're gonna deflect.
Yeah.
They're, in that breaking boundary type situation. I would
What
say,
is there a certain way to answer questions to where
no,
they
just be
can't mirror
yourself.
you?
Just be yourself, and if they start to say the same thing and just say, "I call bullshit." There's no way that you have the same, like, we're totally individual people, we grew up differently, there's no way you have the same goals as I do. Everyone's goals are different. It
Yeah.
being different is healthy, and then say, "Now tell me what you know what I mean? Like, call them
Mhm.
out on the bullshit. Like, there's nothing wrong with standing up and saying that you call bullshit in someone mirroring you. No one, even twins in the same house have different goals. Like,
Yeah.
call bullshit right away.
Call them out.
mean, you don't have to call them out to, like, make them on the attack. Just say, "I call bullshit." Best friends, identical twins, people that live in close proximity 24/7 don't have the same goals. There's no way you have the same goals as me. What are your goals? Tell me the real stuff.
Okay.
I'm
So
I'm a dating expert, but
yeah.
if you wanna cut through the crap of someone mirroring you to study
Yeah.
you, why not call it out? Like,
Mhm.
no reason that they should be giving you yes ma'am answers, right? You don't want that. You don't want a yes ma'am. You want someone who lives for themselves in a healthy way, has their own hobbies, their own interests, because if they're so much like you, mm, they're going to resent that because they're faking it. And what they
Yeah.
love about you will become what they hate about you and what they try to control you around.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because especially if they're trying to marry you and you are making your goals and they're not, now they're gonna tear you down, so you're not able to make your goals to make them
Yeah,
feel
they're gonna
better.
do whatever they can to not allow you to make your goals because it's not their goals, and
Mhm.
you doing your goals is gonna be selfish, right?
Yeah, and I've
You're gonna
ran
be
into
labeled
that with
as
all of my
selfish.
relationships, yeah. It's really sad when relationships do that and just tear you down, so you don't reach your goals. So how would somebody after being in toxic relationships find their peace?
First and foremost, make tiny little promises to yourself every day. I am going to get up at 5 AM, or I'm gonna get up at 6 AM, or I'm gonna make sure I eat breakfast, or I'm gonna make sure I like pick something minuscule, tiny little things that you will have no problem accomplishing. So I'm going to log into my computer and do XYZ by 9 AM, right? You do it, pat yourself on the back. You just kept a promise to yourself. Those
Mhm.
little tiny promises all throughout the day build confidence. And when you get out of an abusive relationship, what's the first thing that's gone? Your confidence,
Oh,
your
yeah.
self-esteem. You don't believe because you have been groomed to rely on the other person. So, in you getting out and getting on yourself, you still are in the training, conditioning that you need to rely on someone else because you don't trust yourself. Because in that relationship, you were so in a fog, you couldn't make a decision for yourself. So the first thing is finding out your autonomy, what you can do by yourself, your independence. And you can do that through making small promises that you will do something and then you do it. If you want to walk around the block while you have your coffee every morning, go to sleep with some running shorts on and a tank top. And when you get up in the morning, you throw on a jacket, a t shirt, whatever the temperature is, wherever you're at, and have your coffee and go for a walk around the block. And then you do your next promise. Okay, I'm home from my walk. I want to read 5 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages out of this book. It could be a healing book. You may want to listen to the app Headspace to get into like a meditative space. You do that 5-10 minutes, right? Nothing crazy. We're not saying we're going to climb Mount Everest the next day. We're making these tiny little goals for ourselves that are easily accomplished. Sometimes my goal was to brush my teeth.
Yeah.
Wake up and brush my teeth. I did it. On to the next one. I need to wash my face. Like whatever state or depression that you're in to get out of, make a promise to yourself, check it off. Make the next promise to yourself, check it off. And as you do that for yourself, you're building your self confidence because you're making a decision and
Mhm.
done.
Yeah, that's really good. I like how you planned it all out like that. 'Cause it reminded me that after my divorce, I wasn't used to really making decisions. It was just trying to keep peace and just, you never thought about what you were doing. And I was listening to this podcast and it said, just try picking out your outfit intentionally. And I was like, what? That's so simple. So I go to my closet and I did it one day and I was like, "Wow, that's a huge thing." Actually thinking about what you're going to wear, how you're gonna do your hair, and all the things. It was a huge thing for me to start out with, even though it was something so simple. And I would tell people about it and they would just kinda look at me funny, but I had never thought about what I wore. I just went in there, grabbed something, threw it on. And then making my bed, that was another thing. First thing in the morning, when I got up, I'd make my bed.
Yeah. I actually did the opposite because he expected the bed to be made.
Mhm.
So I would get up and not make my bed. I didn't want to be told to do something or expected to do something. When I got up, he wanted his coffee already getting made. He wanted his workout supplements laid out. He wanted his pre-workout drink ready. He wanted all of these, and I did it out of being nice in the beginning.
Mhm.
And then when I stopped, he was like, "Why don't you do these things for me anymore? Do you not like me anymore? Like, what's going on?" And so then he was like, "Well, you used to do all these things," then became the guilt trip and the expectation. And then it landed on the list of things he expected from me. Like,
Yeah.
something I did just to be nice became a weapon. So doing things that I was told to do, I didn't want to do them when I got out. I went the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah, after I got my divorce and I didn't have somebody telling me what to do because I could never go on trips or anything with anybody. I had, some friends from church, the wives all wanted to go on a trip together. And he's like, "No, you can't do that, not without me." And I said, "Why?" He's like, "Well, because if you're gonna do a trip, you gotta do it with me." I said, "Okay, so let's go." And he wouldn't go. And that would just drive me crazy. It's like, I can't go anywhere with anybody else, but then you don't wanna go with me either. So after my divorce, my oldest daughter's like, "Go on weekend trips, do what you want, like, go live your life," and I did. Probably wasn't the right decisions, but yeah, I went out and I lived my life.
I mean, it's like you're freed from a cage. Of course, you're gonna go feral, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's expected. You know, I've talked to women that when they get out of a situation, they either scream it from the mountaintops, go wild, right? Which
Mhm.
is that's fine too, right? It's however you feel you need to express yourself to get it out, right?
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I kept it in. I told a few friends that I had alienated that I knew I needed back in my life, and I picked up the phone and I called them. Some rejected me. Some were at my house within 30 minutes. Um, Understanding what I went through, and of course the rejections hurt. They really,
Mhm.
really hurt because there are some people that I had been friends with for quite a while, and they never accepted me back. But I can't control that, right?
Yeah.
All I can do is say, I wasn't supposed to have them in my life. I mean, one of the girls was at my wedding,
Yeah.
so long that I knew her, and she just never accepted me back. But it is what it is, right? You come into contact with people and either you will never, and this is a self-confidence thing too, you will never be able to control how other people respond to you, ever.
Mhm.
Ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
You will never have everybody like you. At some point, most people will talk about you. So do whatever the hell you want anyway, because people who are ahead of you in healing, people who are ahead of you in success through work, in success through life, people ahead of you aren't going to give you shit.
Mhm.
They're going to encourage you.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest thing for me is I just have to keep moving forward. At this point, I can't control how other people are going to act. All I can do is state, "I'm sorry. This is the situation I was in. I would love to have you back in my life if you're okay with that. If you're not, that's fine too. It's whatever shakes out is going to shake out the way it's supposed to."
Yeah. After I left my kids' dad, I didn't know what to do for 6 months. Just sat there. I didn't know how to act without somebody telling me what to do all the time. It was so strange, and then after the 6 months, then that's when I was like, "Oh, there's nobody here to tell me what to do." So then I just did what I wanted, and then after my divorce, I just did what I wanted. I didn't really tell anybody that I got a divorce. I don't know why I didn't wanna tell nobody, but most people didn't even know I was married, which I thought was really strange.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I was married."
Yeah. I remember, my marriage, I didn't wanna get divorced. I'm pretty sure he cheated on me. I didn't catch him in the act, but I found a girl's necklace in our sofa.
Mm,
My laptop that he had bought me for my birthday, I went to a website that I had never been to ever, and some other girl's name populated on this random website that I had never been to. And it just so happened to be a girl that was in his graduate school class. And so I had inklings, I didn't have hard proof, right?
mhm,
But I didn't wanna get divorced. I wanted to work on it, figure out what went wrong, whatever. And he just wanted to be single again, and there was no changing his mind. Like,
mhm,
he it is what it is. And when I left that relationship, when I had to file for a divorce because he abandoned me. When I left that, I ran a half marathon. I did bodybuilding competitions for 2 years. I got into powerlifting, like, built. I looked freaking phenomenal. Like, I was in the best shape of my life physically. I was living my life. I had an easy job. I was making good money. I was in phenomenal shape. Like, all the stars were aligning, right?
mhm.
I had the revenge body. I had the attitude with it, the whole 9 yards. Getting out of this abusive relationship, it broke me. I didn't care about going to the gym. I didn't care about what I looked like. I was lucky if I would wash my face and brush my teeth in the morning. I didn't care.
Mhm.
And then my mom passed away. I didn't even care even more. It was a depressive state. I mean, I would have my good days and my bad days, but he broke me.
Yeah.
And I'd never felt that in my whole life to where literally, I mean, I've gone through hard relationship breakups, but I was always okay on the other side of it. This one, it took me so long to build that back up. I still am building. I don't think recovery from an abusive relationship is not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. It's not one and done in a day and a night and a year. Like,
No.
it's gonna take time because that trauma lives in a different part of your brain and compartmentalizes, and sometimes you'll hear something, smell something, um, see something that absolutely takes you back to a specific thing that you forgot, and you're re-traumatized all over again, and you have to, like, sit in it for a minute to, like, let it flesh itself out and then get back on your healing again. Like, it is a journey.
It is,
It's
that's what
not
I always tell
full of
people, it's a
nightmares.
journey. Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. After my divorce, I actually had a really good support system with some friends, and they came in and helped me go through my entire house, which I didn't understand why they were doing that at first. And like, we need to just get everything out. Anything you don't need, anything you don't want, just get it out. And I'm so thankful they did that because that really, I think, boosted because I had so much anxiety about my house being so cluttered and just everything. But then also where I was mentally, I would have never been able to do that myself. And I don't think I probably would have started my healing journey as fast as I did if they weren't there to help me. So I'm definitely grateful for
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, now
Yeah.
in the stories that I hear, I mean, I hear stories daily. It's insane. From strangulation stories to beating stories to, you know, I escaped stories. I mean, the whole spectrum on the, you know, abuse cycle. I hear it all. I sit in those feelings sometimes because some impact me a little bit more than others, but I allow myself to feel it because my body's telling me I need to.
Mhm.
Then I name what I'm feeling. Am I feeling fear? Am I feeling sadness? Am I feeling anxiety? Is my body trying to tell me that there's something still buried in there, that this is bringing up another memory for me?
Yeah.
And then okay, I'm past it. It's time to move on to the next thing for today. But I think building up our emotional intelligence is really, really important, of naming that feeling and sitting in it and dealing with it. And it could be sitting in it for a short amount of time or a long amount of time, depending on how deep that, whatever it's bringing out in you. But naming it is probably one of the most important things,
Yeah.
because especially coming out of an abusive situation, we were not naming things, right? We
Mm-mm.
were just letting them go by. They were just passing through our heads. Behind us, we were just kind of like loading up the shredding bucket.
Yeah.
The shredding bucket is still there. It's still full. We haven't shredded it yet. We've filled it, and now we need to go through and pull the paper and shred it.
Yeah, and I had to go through that, and since I grew up in such a toxic environment when I was younger, it was pulling back the layers going all the way down to the roots. Where is this coming from? Because everything was triggering me after, and I could not figure out what was happening. I felt like I was going crazy. That's how much I was being triggered by every little tiny thing, and now that I've peel back so many layers, it's not as bad. I still do get triggered a lot, but now I know, like you said, to sit there, figure out what emotion it is, and just sit on that and take everything else in the environment out of it and figure out why I'm having that emotion.
Yeah. Well, and it could be the environment, right? It
Mhm.
could be like a smell or a sound or whatever. I mean, there are so many of our senses. Tasting something, like I used to bake all the time, and I would bake for him, and I haven't baked in forever. I haven't
Yeah.
probably baked, like, truly baked. That was be my thank you for people. I would bake them a pie or bake them cookies or bake them some cupcakes or I would bake them something. Protein cheesecakes, like protein key lime pies, like, I would bake all of these things, and when my abuser, would see that I did this for other people, he would guilt me into, "Well, why don't you bake for me more?" And it became a weapon. My niceness became a weapon. And so I think the last time I baked was like 4 years ago, and I loved it. I freaking
Yeah.
loved.
Yeah, and it's important to find out what you love doing too, because you have to find something that you like doing. Because I know with me, I didn't do anything, and every single time I did find something that I did like doing, it was taken from me. So, definitely have to figure out those things that you used to love doing and just start doing them again. As hard as it may be that it's taking you back, I don't know, I feel like you should just push through. Maybe try baking again, see what happens.
Yeah. Well,
Not yet?
I mean, the tough thing is, like, most of the so I had wedding silverware, I had wedding baking sheets and cake pans and spring load pans, I had all of the things.
Wow.
Well, when I left all of that stuff there. He's got all of my baking stuff. I mean, that's hundreds and probably a couple $1,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
So, that is like, that's the other part of, like, I have silverware now that is older than me. It was my parents' silverware, because they had 2 sets of silverware, so my dad, he was like, "Here, use this. You don't need to go buy all new silverware." So, I'm using that, which is, sentimental. Um, I miss my Crate& and Barrel silverware that I picked out for my wedding back in 2028
Yeah.
or 2008. I'm like, "Why should he have that? Why should he have all my Williams-Sonoma baking pans? Why?" And then it just makes me angry, but it is what it is. Maybe one day when I win the lottery, I'll buy all that stuff again.
Going back to, um, toxic environments too. So, I was in a job that was really toxic, and it triggered me all the time after my nervous system started to reset, and I felt like I was in that toxic relationship at work. I was like, "What in the world?" I was so miserable and so angry, and I just left that job and went back to another job, took a huge pay cut. Boy, was it worth it, though. My son the other day, he says, "Mom, how does it feel not to feel stressed out from work all the time?" Honestly, I didn't realize how stressed I was at work until after I didn't have the stress at work, and I didn't realize how much of it was the same feelings that I was having in my relationship, that afterwards, I couldn't function in a good way,
Yeah.
but it was, like, the first time in my life I wasn't stressed about something, and I
Yeah.
was just calm and just there.
Yeah. When I left my abuser October 1st, 2018, shortly after the place that I was working, my it was I don't he was like there's the sales managers, then he was like right above the sales managers, whatever that title was at that company. And he threw me under the bus to all the managers in an email, and somehow I got pulled in and copied on it, and scrolled down and I was like, if it's not in Salesforce, it didn't happen. And I'm like, hold up. I looked at the person that they were talking about, like that they were calling me out on for not doing. And I looked in the notes and I was actually more efficient than the person that they were praising. And so I replied all and copied HR. Again, toxic, right? They crossed a boundary. They basically said I didn't do my job. I
Yep,
absolutely did my job and I did it better than that person. And so I looped in HR and I said, I don't appreciate being called a liar. I did my job. And if you actually scroll down past the person that you're praising, I was more efficient than they were. And he backtracked. I wasn't calling you a liar, blah. I mean, classic narcissism, classic. And I could see it clearly. So I absolutely relate to you on that because shortly thereafter, I left that job because I couldn't handle that stress anymore. And a month later, they actually shut their doors. He was so stressed out that he was taking and calling people out on shit that he had no business calling people out.
yeah,
And I have a problem with that.
mhm,
Don't shit on the
yeah,
people below you. They're the people
mhm,
that are going to make you look good to the people above you. Praise them. Have them work harder. They'll work harder with praise. None of this like fear shit. I had already come from that. I'm not doing that again.
yeah. I did the same thing at my job. I got wrote up for stuff that didn't even apply,
Yeah.
and I rebutted back to it, and it went straight to HR. And the next day, I put in my notice, and then the next day after that, they said, "Effective immediately, but we're gonna pay you out your PTO." I'm like, "Yeah, alright, see you. I'll take a week paid vacation." Like,
Heck yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, "Not that drawing a line there.
Yeah.
Let's move on in life," but yeah.
Did want to stop real quick, but what you did bring up is I think is so important. Not only can an abusive situation be in the workplace, right?
Mhm,
From your coworkers, from your boss. It can put you into a fearful position at work, but it
mhm,
also be with siblings, right? It's
yep,
not just a husband, a wife, a significant other that can do this to you. It can be in those other environments too.
mhm,
Very important to take note of that because I mean, one of the things that I have delved deep in is when you go to work in the morning and you're escaping your abuser to go to work, that abuse still follows you,
mhm,
right? You're not clocking in and out of your abuse at 9 a.m. and then clocking back in to your abuse at 5 p.m. They're texting you, like giving you anxiety all day long, maybe showing up at your work, circling your parking lot, like spying on you and who you're talking to, like
yep,
doesn't just stop when you're at work, or it could be done at work or just at home. I mean, it can happen at any time all day long. So your body can't readjust. You're on high anxiety all the time. And that's when you can literally have a panic attack. You can go into, like, very severe medical situations because you don't have an outlet to let your body chill at all.
Mhm.
And I think that is just an important that when you brought up work, I was like, I at least wanna make sure to talk about abuse follows you from home to work.
It does.
And it can happen at work. Like, your boss or your coworkers can be abusive. Like, it's not just bully behavior, right? It can be the sexual harassment. It can be sexual assault. It can be, like, so many other things that are in the abuse umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been through that with a lot of my jobs. My last job had me so stressed out, um, that I can remember driving, and I was on this one road, and to get on this other road, you had to do a little loop around to get up on the overpass, and I was driving, and the next thing I know, I'm at a light, and I have no clue where I'm at. I don't remember how I got there. It was the scariest thing ever, just because I was just underneath so much stress.
Yeah.
And then I pulled over into a parking lot, and I slept for, like, an hour because I don't know, it was the scariest thing. But, yeah, stress can do a lot to your body. But, yeah, do you wanna talk, more about your mission and what all you do before we end?
Sure. So my nonprofit is Ignite Her Inc. on the web at igniteher.org. The main focus on the nonprofit is to teach red flags, teach boundaries, teach self-defense. A lot of time in the space of domestic violence, it is the emergency shelters, how to get out, where to go, who to call, and then the aftercare. So after you leave, because most women leave with the clothes on their back and their child tucked under an arm, right? They don't have a car seat, a pack and play. They don't have luggage or clothes or toothpaste or shampoo or any of that stuff. So where can they find those resources, right? So there's the shelter and then there's the aftercare, right? But my nonprofit, how can I impact someone right here, right now? How can I make them aware because I was not aware of what abuse scenarios were because I was in denial. So how can I have that conversation? How can I get women to protect themselves? And so the first thing, because my abuser was over 100 pounds more than me, he was double my size, is how can I help someone that is getting cornered, pinned, potentially raped, right? All depending on this situation. How can I help them get out of that situation safely? Because when you're leaving, that's when things escalate. So you need to know how to defend yourself, at least enough to get away, not to stand there and fight with them like you're in an MMA match, right? That would be
Yeah,
phenomenal. But if you're up against someone who's double your weight, you're probably in a losing battle, right?
yeah,
But through self defense and safe exit strategies, so safety planning, self defense moves that are the ones that I'm learning and going to be teaching as soon as I get certified, are the top 20 assaults on women. So, getting drugged by your hair in a sexual assault position, a knife to your throat, strangulation, pinned up against a wall with one hand or two hands. I mean, there's the top 20 assaults, and these are all done by police reports. These are not like willy-nilly type things. Um, so teaching someone some self-defense moves empowers them to have the confidence to leave,
yeah,
right? I feel good that if I practice this move 10 times, my body's gonna react in a way that I will remember it, right? So that is a way that I can help someone right here, right now, feel better about themselves, feel confident about themselves in making that next decision to leave. If it is not a victim that is in our class, it is maybe someone who is helping a victim, or it's someone who came from a domestic violence situation and may still be in the danger zone of being recontacted revisited by their abuser. So you do need to know these safety moves because
yeah,
most homicides happen after the person is left. So learning what you need to do if someone has a weapon, if someone is sexually assaulting you or has you pinned against a wall, is strangling you, how do you get out of that? So that to me was very, very important because I saw the monster in my abuser's eyes. I did. His eyes turned black. I mean, he is pure evil. I don't
Wow.
care if he goes to church every Sunday. He is not a Christian man at all. He doesn't live a Christian lifestyle. He's lying through his teeth because
Yeah.
no Christian man would treat a woman like that. I don't care how many times you tell yourself you're Christian or how many times you've been baptized. No Christian man is gonna spit on someone, shove them down, almost break their wrist, punch them in the chest, threaten them. That is not the Christian way, ever.
Yeah.
The other side is I wrote a book called Behind the Smile: The Unseen Signs of Emotional Abuse. And I focused on that version with the emotional abuse and coercive control because they are bruises that aren't seen.
Mhm.
They are less recognized, especially by people surrounding you, right? So if you're the
Yeah.
one in the abuse, everyone around you is caught in the tornado. They are caught in the wind and the debris and the destruction of what that relationship is doing to you. Now, some may stick around, others may not, but most people, unless they've gone through a domestic abuse, domestic violence situation themselves, they don't know how to approach you and have that conversation to see if you're okay.
Yeah, and
The most common thing we all hear is, "Why don't you just leave?"
a lot of times you don't know you're in it at that point. It's not until after that, so
Well, but other people may recognize it,
right.
but how
Yeah.
they come to tell you and they say, "Why don't you just leave? You need to get out." And if you're in
Mhm.
denial, I'll tell you what I did. I was told 4 months into my relationship that I was in an abusive relationship. You know what I did? I told my abuser. You know what he did? Blocked that person. Deleted out of my phone, blocked out of social media. And
Yeah.
so if you tell your loved one who's in an abusive situation, you need to leave, you need to get out, I'm gonna come get you, guess what? If they're in denial, they're not leaving yet. You have just isolated yourself from that situation because more than likely they're going to go tell the abuser that their sister, their mother, their cousin, their friend, their coworker said that they were in an abusive relationship and now you're going to get cut off.
Mhm.
So it's how to have that conversation. It's more of a guide on recognizing abuse, what you can visually see with someone, not necessarily bruises, but how they're reacting, how they carry themselves. You'll notice that they're not going to carry themselves with confidence anymore. They're going to be more shrunken down. They are becoming a shell of who they were. And you can notice that.
Yeah.
The person who knows you and sees you a lot can notice it, right? And for examples, my story is woven through as examples. So it's not a book about me. It's a guide to help other women, help family members, help coworkers, help the person who's in the abusive situation. And then the examples are my story. Now, near the end, I do have kind of like a journal entry for
Mhm.
less of a better thing where I break it down and you can see how the abuse escalates and how the control escalates and all of that stuff through that. And then, of course, the power and control wheel, a checklist to say, are you feeling this way? I mean, if you're checking anything on that list, you're in an abusive situation. And then there's some resources in the back. So it's more to help as like a resource book
Yeah.
versus true nonfiction biography. No one gives a shit about my story. They want to know what I went through to help whoever they're trying to help. So that is kind of the angle I went with the book.
That's really awesome. I did the same thing with my book, except for mine was to teach people what domestic violence is. And then I put my story in there with journal prompts and then a bunch of resources too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of cool that you did the first part or the other side of it. I'm gonna have to definitely look that up and read it because that's really good. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
It's the cover is a little scary, but it's called Behind the Smile. So it
Mhm.
is how you feel when you're getting pulled in 10 different directions. All you wanna do is scream. So it's a picture of a girl screaming with fingers on her face.
Okay. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you wanna share before we end?
I mean, not really. I mean, just anyone that is listening, just realize you're not alone.
Mhm.
I spoke with a lady and she was telling me about her and her 3 friends. It was the 4 of them were like the core group of friends. And at some point, each of them were in a domestic violence situation. So I don't think it is the 1 in 3 number that gets tossed around. I think that's what gets reported, but I think, nowadays especially, that there is some form of domestic violence, domestic abuse, coercive control, which is now gaining more popularity in discussion because it's really the big umbrella to gaslighting, manipulation, all of that kind of stuff. Coercive control is like the big umbrella that all that sits under.
Mhm.
Most people, in their case, 100% of their friend group went through that.
Yeah.
I think the number's way higher. So awareness and education has to be at the forefront. The younger we start to, as soon as someone learns the birds and the bees, whatever grade that is nowadays, I'm sure it's way earlier than when I learned it. But whenever they learn the birds and the bees, they should be learning about manipulation to get sex.
Yeah.
If you love me, you'll do this. If you love
Mhm.
me, you'll have sex with me. If you love me, you'll do, we'll be in this situation. No, that is, I mean, that's the first line of manipulation most people hear. Now, if you're in a domestic violence household, you heard it way sooner. You've heard the violent words, the screaming, the name calling, the degradation, the you name it, the physical, the all of it. You've seen a whole different side of that. Some people don't even witness any of that until they're in middle school. Whenever kids are having sex these days, who knows?
Oh, it's really young now. It's so young. I hear about these kids, I'm like, "Dang, that's so young."
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, it's
remember talking to a counselor and she's like, "Well, we're not as concerned with the 12-year-olds getting pregnant for the first time. We're actually more concerned with the 12-year-olds getting pregnant for the second time
Mhm.
because they're having a baby or having an abortion, and before they can even be healed, their boyfriend or whoever is having sex with them again to get them pregnant again."
Yeah. I didn't realize it until I started working with kids on just how different the world is and how much younger kids are.
Yeah.
It's it's
Yeah.
it's really sad.
Crazy. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is really we need to start teaching our girls boundaries at
Mhm.
younger ages because boys and hormones, right? They're of course going to try it. They're going to try to push those buttons. So learning boundaries and learning how to speak up, right? Women,
Mhm.
especially young girls, be quiet, be quiet. The men are talking, right? We're taught to be passive and hush hush. No, speak up. If someone's too close, you're too close, that makes me uncomfortable. And say it out
Yeah.
loud from your chest and your whole diaphragm. Like speak it aloud and don't be afraid of that. And through that, manipulation, any type of distance control, if you're not comfortable with someone standing so close or invading your space and trying to do things to you, speak up. Like if they're caught while it's happening, even better, right? If someone's trying to molest you or, touch you inappropriately, and you're in a public space and they're trying to be secretive and telling you to be quiet, speak up because if they get their hand caught in the cookie jar, there's witnesses.
Mhm.
Stay quiet, they're going to do more damage when no one's around.
Yep.
So, speaking up, learning boundaries, educating yourself on what all the manipulation and the red flags, all of those things, what is considered abuse. Learn it, all of the things. I think I have a blog post on that on my website that goes into all the different forms of abuse because half the time people don't consider it abuse unless it's drawing blood, a black eye, or broken bone.
Yep, that was me. Yeah. Everything else was normal. Yeah. It's one reason why I'm doing this podcast. Have everybody get the word out and just all of us help teach people together.
Exactly. And the more of us that speak up, the more of the darkness becomes out into the light, right? And you can't hide secrets in the light. Secrets hide in the dark,
Mhm. Yep.
and the darkness only helps abusers.
That's true. And even if you do tell somebody and they don't believe you, tell somebody else. That's very important. Um and if you tell your family and they don't believe you, go to someone else. Don't just stop just because your family doesn't believe you. And that's with any type of abuse, especially sexual abuse, because a lot of times the family wants to cover it up. I'm not sure why or not believe you, and that's a whole other
Well, and that's the biggest thing, right? So especially if a family member is touching you inappropriately,
Mhm.
scream back at them, "I don't like that." That's gonna get attention, and they're gonna be caught off guard and probably not move fast enough, and someone will see something, and that is how they believe you.
Mhm.
You have to speak up. You can't hold it quiet.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for being on. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the conversation we had.
Yeah, absolutely.
If this episode spoke to you, remember you deserve love that feels safe, and it's okay to set boundaries that protect your peace. And if today's episode spoke to your heart, don't forget to follow the podcast so you never miss a new story of healing and hope. Share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone, because you never know whose life it might touch. And if you're ready to take the next step in your own healing journey, I invite you to check out my free quiz to see if you might be in a toxic relationship. It's powerful first step toward clarity and freedom. You can also learn more about my one on one coaching program where I help men and women break free from unhealthy cycles and step into purpose God has for their lives. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my own story of surviving domestic abuse, finding healing, and learning to trust God through it all. And thank you for turning into silent no longer. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep trusting God's plan in your life.